Hey there, I'm Elena with Black Sheep 303 Creative. If you don't know me, I teach people how to use their Cricut, ScanNCut, and Silhouette machines. I also design the SVG files that go along with those machines. I often give them away, and I also sell some of them. If you're interested in supporting my channel, please consider shopping at my Etsy shop, which is linked in the video description. Now today's project, which is this really cute retro style Valentine, is free in my resource library. You have to sign up for that. It is password protected, so you can find the link to sign up for that in the video description as well. This is a really quick, very beginner friendly project, so just about anyone can do it. I'm going to show you how to do it on the Cricut today, but if you are a ScanNCut or Silhouette user, I do have the tutorials for the setup in Brother Canvas Workspace and Silhouette Studio also available in my resource library. So without further ado, let's get to the project. Okay, so you see I'm in a new blank canvas in Cricut Design Space, and the first thing I need to do is upload the file. So I'm going to go over to the left-hand toolbar, and second from the bottom is Upload. I'm going to click on that. Brings you into the upload screen. I'm going to click Upload Image, and then I'm going to click Browse. This is going to bring you into a navigation screen for your computer, so you're going to need to remember where you downloaded and extracted the file to, and navigate to find it. So mine's in here, and then you're looking for the SVG version. Click on that to select it, and then click Open. It's going to come in looking just like that, so that looks good. You can, if you want to, over here on the right, change the image name and add tags to help you find it later if you want to do that. I'm going to skip all that and just click Upload. Comes in as your most recent upload on the left, so I'm going to click on it to select it. You'll see there like a green box shows up around it, so you know you've selected it. And I'm going to go to the lower right and click Add to Canvas. It's going to come in looking like this. Everything is grouped together, so the first thing I'm going to do is ungroup it. So I'm going to go over here to the top of the Layers panel. It's this first icon, and click on that to ungroup it. Click off of it, and then I'm just going to pull these apart a little bit. Alright, so when it first comes in, the card is sized to 4 3/4 wide by 9.5 long. So it's too large for the Joy to cut. Now you can, if you want to, size it down to say like 4 1/4 to cut this on the Joy. That is totally up to you. Now what I would suggest though, if you're going to do that, is bring this piece over here so it lines up in the openings. At least get it close. Click and drag to select both of these, and then I would size this down like by going up to the size box over here and just changing the width to 4.25, and that way the letters size down proportionally to the rest of the pieces if you want to use those letters as like inset pieces into the card front. Now I'm actually not going to use that piece, so I'm going to just hide it. So you can see over here that it's grouped together. I'm going to just turn off the eyeball here so that we don't use it, and then I'm actually going to resize this back because I'm going to cut this on my Maker. Okay, but you'll notice down here on the bottom there is this text that says remember to change the line on the card base to a score/dash line before cutting, blah blah blah. And we don't actually need to keep that, but it does remind you that the first thing we need to do is change this line to a score line. Right now it's set as a cut line. So if we go over to the Layers panel here, you can see that we've selected this group. It turns kind of a light blue to know it's selected. I'm going to click on just this top line to select just the line, and you'll notice this like handle shows up on the line, so you know you've selected it. And I'm going to go up here to first I need to change my machine to the Maker because that's what I'm going to cut this on. And I'm going to change it to Score. So go to the operation box, click the drop down menu, and select Score. When you click off it, you'll see it's turned into like a dashed line. Now these two are still grouped together, so I'm going to make sure I click on the group over here on the Layers panel, and then I'm going to go down to the bottom and click Attach. It's really important because Attach tells the software that this score line needs to be drawn right here where it is as you see it on the card base. If you don't attach it, when you go to make it, it's going to take that line and like put it somewhere else kind of nutso. So you don't want to do that. And then the last thing we need to do is just hide this text. So I'm just going to go over here and click on the eye to hide that. So we just need these 3 pieces to cut them. Quick note about the score line: if you are doing this on the Joy, I would just remove or hide that line altogether, because obviously you don't want to cut it through. And since it does cut these indents in the sides, that should make it fairly easy to like either score it with, you know, like a bone folder or a credit card if you've got one, and then just fold it yourself. Okay, so now let's click Make It. And you'll see we've got 3 mats, which is exactly what we want. So now I'm going to just click Continue. Now I would suggest that for these top couple of layers that you use a lighter weight cardstock, like a 65 to 80 pound or 175 to 225 GSM cardstock in order to cut these out. It's not super delicate, so you know you can get away with slightly heavier, but just to be on the safe side, that is what I would suggest. And then your card base itself can be on a heavier cardstock, like an 80 to 100 pound, like 100 pound at least is what I would suggest, just because you want this card base to be able to support the 2 layers that are going on top of it. So in terms of setting the base material, I would say that cardstock for intricate cuts is a good choice, especially if you're using lighter weight cardstock. Now for this material, the card base itself, I would instead choose heavy cardstock, because hopefully you're using a heavier weight cardstock for that, and it's a fairly simple cut, so it doesn't have to be too intricate. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the first mat, and I'm leaving it on cardstock for intricate cuts, and now that's all we need to do. So I'm going to head on over to the machine and cut this. Alright, so I'm using a LightGrip mat. The first color I'm cutting is this sort of lavender color. So I'm going to load the mat and click my Cricut button for it to go. Okay, I'm going to flip this over to remove it from the mat. Alright, this is a slightly heavier cardstock, so I do have a couple areas I got to clean up. But I do want to point out that there's a couple pieces you need to keep. You need to keep the inside, the very inside of the O. And then you need to keep the skinnier piece. So you're going to have this, then the skinny piece, then this bigger piece, and then the tiny piece. So just make sure you don't need these 2, which are kind of bigger, thicker, but you do need the 2 skinnier pieces. So make sure you hold on to those. Okay, so my next piece of paper is actually a glitter paper that is a lighter cardstock. So going to feed that in. Again, flipping the mat over and peeling the mat away from the paper. That keeps your paper flat. All right, so there's that one. And you can get rid of all of the insides on this one. And then our final one is the heavier cardstock, which is the card base. So I'm going to go change the setting, the material setting in Cricut Design Space. Now I'm going to load it. Got my double scoring wheel loaded. I'll click go. Okay, so these are the pieces we need to make the card. I'm going to clean this one up a little bit and then we'll get to assembly. Okay, so this is really easy assembly. I have some glue, and I've got a straight edge and a bone folder and a scissors just in case. Now I think the easiest thing to do first is to score this. So I'm just going to line up my straight edge. Well, it's already scored, but fold it along the, the two little indents on the side. And then I'm just going to lift from the bottom, and that score line will just take over and let you score. And I do think you get better results when you score, or when you fold into the score line as opposed to away from it. For me, that always seems to help with paper, preventing the paper from cracking. And I'm just going over it with the bone folder to reinforce the fold. And I'm going to set that off to the side because the first thing we need to put together is the top layer. So I am going to put glue on the back of the purple layer and glue it onto the glitter. Okay, and then the most important thing I would say is to line up the insides of your letters with the cutouts in the glitter cardstock first, and then hopefully the edges will just line up correctly, because you can always trim off the edge if something doesn't quite line up. It's a lot harder to fix the inside if those aren't lined up correctly. And then we need to put the O, this O piece, along the inside of the O over here. So it's a little hard to tell, but like one edge is thicker than the other edge just a tiny bit. And it goes along with how one side of the O is thicker than the other side. So you just want to make sure that you line up the thicker edge of your inside O with the thicker edge of the glitter O. I hope that makes sense. Okay, now if you want to set that aside and let it dry for a little bit, that's totally fine, but I'm going to just move on and glue it to the front of the card base. There is an optical illusion for this card where it looks like it's kind of off center because there is a wider space here than there is over here. It's actually not off center, but if that's going to bother you, what you could do is use like a little punch or cut a heart out of your gray cardstock and add that here. So I'm going to do that now. Okay, so this is my leftover paper from cutting out the card base, and I'm just going to take this little square or heart punch and punch a heart out of the corner of the extra paper. You could also punch this out of your lavender and glitter paper before you glue it onto the card base, and then you'd have it just showing through, which would be really cute. And then I forgot to put the center of my O back in, so let me do that. Okay, and there's the completed card. Pretty darn cute. You could add like a happy Valentine's Day on the inside if you wanted to, but like super quick, super easy, and really fun. And of course you can always change the colors to completely change the feel of the card if you want to do that as well. So I hope that inspires you to use to make some really cute and fast but sparkly Valentine cards this season. This file is free in my resource library, so the link is in the video description below for you to get access to that. And if you get something out of the video, I'd appreciate it if you would give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment, and consider subscribing to my channel for more Cricut, ScanNCut, and Silhouette craft project tutorials. Thanks so much. Have a great day.